Good Thursday afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. I am, of course, KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. You are watching this show live on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, and also it is available on Roku via the BS3 Network. Download BS3, the app on Roku, and watch many shows like this one via the app. Shows live, shows on demand. Download it or go to BS3 TV and learn more about it. In this action-packed hour, got the Big 12 / the member schools announced their schedule matrices for men's and women's basketball within the hour. So I'm going to squeeze that in for the discussion. And also, I got to touch on it again. Part of the schedule, the venue location pertaining to the Houston Cougars, Arkansas Razorbacks matchup December 20th. I want to acknowledge the queen of supporting the Roundball Review, Miss Wanda Polk. She's the first one to comment. Thank you very much, Queen Polk. Hope you're doing well. Hope the rain wasn't too much for you where you and yours are. Wasn't too bad over here in the grade of 5th. Thankfully, hardly any rain at all, honestly, today. But because of the schedule announcement taking place, I'm going to shift things up initially, but then get back to the tie-in of Arkansas and the 2025 Women's Champions Classic, which apparently some folks don't know about. And that may involve people at Houston. But first things first. Houston Cougars men's basketball learned schedule breakdown and return to the 18-game Big 12 schedule. Today, within the hour, the Houston Cougars men's basketball program and Big 12 conference released the league's 2025-26 schedule matrix. All Big 12 men's basketball schools will play 3 schools in home and away series, 6 opponents at home only, and 6 schools on the road only. In 25-26, Houston meets Baylor, Cincinnati, and Texas Tech in home and away. When I saw that disappointed me and surprised me negatively. Texas Tech home and away for the Cougs is great. Great for TV. 2 expected top 10 programs in the country. Baylor twice disappointed me. I know Baylor is a state school, but Baylor got a whole new roster. Coach Scott Drew and staff will probably get things righted, but initially, not much is expected from Baylor. Way too early looks, things like that. So playing them twice, and then Cincinnati's playing them twice. No, massive fail. No. Can I say it anymore? No. My dream list for the Cougs, home and away, for this season in particular, BYU, Texas Tech, and for it's either Kansas or Iowa State. So I took BYU, KU, Texas Tech, BYU, Iowa State, Texas Tech. To only get Texas Tech twice is disappointing. But next, Arizona State, Colorado, Kansas State, UCF, and West Virginia will visit Fertitta Center while the Cougars hit the road to meet BYU and AJ DeBanca, one of the top freshmen in the country, Iowa State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, TCU, and Utah. So 3 of the marquee teams in the conference, other than the Cougs face on the road. And that's it in BYU, Iowa State, and Kansas. Fail. I understand it's one of the ramifications of going back to an 18-game schedule and only having 3 teams you face twice. I understand that's part of it. That's one of, I guess, the few positives of the 20-game schedule. Let me put myself on the big screen as I vent for a moment. In the 20-game schedule, the Cougs faced 5 teams twice. So 5 teams home and away. So you could squeeze in BYU, Kansas, Iowa State, all part of that 5. But now back to the 18-game conference schedule, you're only going to face 3 teams twice. So some folks took a hit. And Baylor and Cincinnati, ugh. Opponents were selected based to best balance the schedule in terms of travel and competitiveness. Okay. A full Big 12 schedule with game dates, times, and broadcasting networks will be released at a later date. Next, for the women, Big 12 Conference reveals Houston women's basketball 25-26 pairings. The Big 12 Conference announced the 18-game women's basketball schedule matrix for the 25-26 season today. Under first-year head coach Matthew Mitchell, Houston will play 3 conference opponents twice and the other 12 teams once. Houston will play a home-and-home series against Kansas State, TCU, and Texas Tech. Ironically, on the women's side, TCU and Kansas State, TCU for sure, is expected to be probably the top team in the conference. And K-State's probably one of the top 3 teams in Big 12 women's hoops. So Coach Mitchell is going to face 2 of the top 3 Big 12 women's teams home and away to get them twice. That's probably 4 losses to Kansas State, to the TCU. Welcome to the Big 12, Coach Mitchell. C837 with a joke about UH men's hoops. They get to, Bryce James comes to Fertitta. So I wonder if Lakers will be in town, face the Rockets at that time. Maybe LeBron will make an appearance. Who knows? But back to the women's schedule, the announcement. Coach Mitchell's squad is set to host BYU, Cincinnati, Colorado, Iowa State, UCF, and Utah inside Fertitta Center. On the road, the Cougs will face Arizona, Arizona State, Baylor, Kansas, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. Opponents were selected based to best balance the schedule in terms of travel and competitiveness. The remainder of the 25-26 Houston women's basketball schedule, including dates and times, will be released at a later date. All right. Back to my shiny ball head on the big screen. C837. Miss Wanda, Coogs Our Money, thank you for chiming in. Okay. Sunday on Folks Talking Sports, I stated that UH men's hoops would face, or is scheduled to face, Arkansas in December. Arkansas would be the matchup in the Northeast that Coach Kelvin Sampson teased at in his Zoom session a couple of weeks ago. December 20th is the projected date, expected date that was first mentioned to me. The first person that told me about it mentioned that the game would take place at Madison Square Garden. The next person to tell me about it said the game would take place either at the Barclays Center or Madison Square Garden. So everyone watching the show right now, take a look at this. Barclays Center. This is the calendar on the Barclays Center website. Notice that, Miss Wanda, CA37, Coogs Our Money. This is directly from the Barclays Center events, the calendar page. And keep in mind, Barclays Center is the home of the WNBA's Liberty, and also the NBA's Nets. You can scroll through it. There's a lot of events scheduled from now till the end of the year. But notice, December 20th, what does that say? That says the Shark Beauty Women's Champions Classic. There's no other event listed until February 28th. That's mainly due to the Nets NBA schedule for the 25-26 season has not yet been announced, which will probably be announced next month in July. December 20th, it says Shark Beauty Women's Champions Classic. Y'all see that, correct? Next. Wrong thing. Next. Here we go, right here. You click on a link, you get some more information about the Shark Beauty Women's Champions Classic, December 20th. Buy tickets. Tickets on sale now. This is June. Tickets on sale now for the Shark Beauty Women's Champions Classic. Slated for the Barclays Center, December 20th, which is the date and venue location that some outlets have reported and are reporting for the Coogs Arkansas men's basketball matchup. Next. Oops, wrong thing. Here we go. Here's part of the press release for the event. And it was announced March 12th, earlier this year. Horizon Sports and Experiences and Fox Sports announced the return of the premier early season women's college basketball showcase. The Shark Beauty Women's Champions Classic, set for when, Miss Wanda? Set for when? CA37? And what is the venue? The Barclays Center, Saturday, December 20th. And scheduled to tip off in prime time on Fox. Start time subject to change. This marquee event on the college basketball calendar, which enjoys maximum exposure on a national broadcast network, will once again be headlined by the University of Connecticut, the University of Iowa, the University of Louisville, and the University of Tennessee. The organizers also announced the event will remain in New York at Barclays Center through 2026. The website for the Barclays Center has listed that event for months. Women's Champions Classic. Second year for it. So it's kind of similar to the men's version of the event featuring the Men's Champions Classic, featuring was it Duke, North Carolina, Michigan State, and Kentucky. Those same four teams are in the event annually, and they rotate who they face each year. So the women's game has that now. UConn, Iowa, Louisville, Tennessee. Taking place Saturday, December 20th at the Barclays Center. I don't know everything, and I have been wrong many times in my 53 years on Earth and in my 30 plus years covering and owning the Houston Roundball Review. But let me ask you as viewers, as you're watching this show, how likely is it that another event organizer or two different event organizers are going to have separate events at the same venue on the same day? Please let me know in the comments. How likely is it that two different event organizers are going to have two separate events at the same venue on the same day. UConn women's basketball is probably the biggest brand of all 6 teams you consider, including UH men's hoops and Arkansas men's hoops. The chauvinists might say that's not impossible, but okay, you keep thinking that, especially up there in New York. So thank you, CA37. Highly unlikely. Which gets me to my points of contention. The Coogs Arkansas matchup is going to take place. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be at the Barclays Center. And most likely, like I said, the women's games are going to be broadcast on Fox. Most likely, the Coogs Arkansas game will be broadcast by ESPN. Kind of doubt that those 2 networks were going to cooperate and say, yeah, guys, y'all can use our same trucks. Go ahead, ESPN. Use our trucks for your ESPN game. Yeah, go ahead. Y'all can do that. Sure. Kind of doubt that. Kind of doubt that UH and Arkansas men's hoops would want to play an earlier game before a women's doubleheader taking place in prime time. Kind of doubt that. Kind of doubt that 6 teams would be able to practice enough to prepare for their specific games at one spot. Kind of doubt that. So the last few days, I've reached out and contacted the organizer, who I think will be the organizer for the men's game, UH Arkansas, phone and email. Haven't heard from them. Crickets. No response. Again, and I looked at the MSG calendar of events. Only things listed that far ahead in December is for the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall. No mention of Coogs Arkansas at MSG. I checked out the Prudential Center website today. The events calendar. Nothing listed past December 4th. I do believe Coogs Arkansas is going to take place. I also believe it's very unlikely it's going to take place at the Barclays Center on December 20th. Where it's going to take place, it logically seems like it'll take place at MSG, but they're probably, and I'll say this, the 2024, what I think will be the organizer of the Coogs Arkansas game for December this year, the Gotham Classic, an announcement for it, a press release for it was not made until July last year. July 29th, I think. So we might have to wait until the end of July for an official word of where Coogs versus Arkansas is going to take place. But one more time before I get into some Rice news and other things. Bobby, I see you. This is a press release for the event taking place Saturday, December 20th at the Barclays Center. The Women's Champions Classic is scheduled for Saturday, December 20th. Not Coogs, Arkansas. And again, you go to the Barclays Center website. That is what's listed. Not Coogs versus Arkansas. You click on that Shark Beauty Women's Champions Classic image, that box. Tickets are on sale for the event, scheduled for December 20th, 2025 at the Barclays Center. And get to this. Bobby, I see your comment. Hello to you. Thank you for chiming in, joining the discussion. Bobby, I don't know if you had a chance to, if you've seen or heard the Schedule matrix announced for UH men's basketball for the 25-26 season. The Coogs home and away opponents, Baylor, Cincinnati, and Texas Tech. Men's hoops. So the Cougs will face Baylor twice, Cincinnati twice, and Texas Tech twice. They'll be at BYU, at Iowa State, and at Kansas. Arizona is the really elite team, expected to be elite team in the conference that will be in Fertitta Center, and it's just one time. Make of that what you will. But Bobby commented, I wonder if Eddie Nunez would explain it. I'm going to answer that question a different way, Bobby, and thank you as always for participating in the discussions on these shows on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. Last week, Rice University announced their new collective, South Main Collective for Athletics. Last week, the AD put out a statement regarding the approval of the NCAA versus House settlement. Thus far, my alma mater has not made any statements regarding the NCAA, any public statements regarding the NCAA versus House settlement. Rice, in fact, Rice AD, Ty McClellan, will hold a press conference Friday afternoon, tomorrow, to take questions and comments about the House settlement. I was invited to attend that. Rice reached out to me to let me know about it and invited me to attend. Rice is not my alma mater. UH has my contact info. Wednesday, Rice also was proactive, announcing a hire of a general manager, Tasha Moser. Her husband is Mike Moser, assistant coach for the Rockets. Tasha Moser, associate AD, name, image, and likeness, and general manager. Think about that. Some information about her duties. Rice VP and Director of Athletics, Tommy McClellan, announced on Wednesday the hiring of Olympian and world champion gymnast, attorney, and athlete advocate Tasha Moser, formerly Swikert, as Rice's associate AD / name, image, and likeness, and general manager. Moser will lead the department's advancement of NIL and opportunities for Rice's student assets stemming from the approval of the House settlement. She will serve as the primary resource for all aspects of the NIL process for the Owls' student assets, as well as the liaison on NIL-related matters between third-party partners of Rice Athletics and the South Main Collective. She will work with head coaches and other select sports staff on roster management, initiate regular meetings with university and campus stakeholders on NIL matters, and work with the Rice Athletics leadership on strategies to keep Rice Athletics at the forefront of the latest industry trends and developments. She come to Rice after 6 years as a principal attorney at Monk, Wilson, and Mandela law firm. During her time at MWM, she became a leader in the new area of NIL opportunities for student assets as co-chair of the firm's quote unquote "We Are NIL" practice, offering consulting and education for collectives, brands, schools, agencies, and student assets, as well as preparing NIL partnership agreements. She has spoken at various NIL conferences nationwide and prepared NIL legal presentations for collegiate student assets. I stated all of that. That's from Rice. Rice Athletics hired a general manager for NIL, put out a public statement regarding the House settlement. We'll hold a press conference Friday afternoon with the AD discussing the House settlement and how Rice will work with it. It is currently Thursday, June 12th at 12:26 p.m. as I do this show. I have not received anything from Houston Athletics regarding anything Rice has done or will do. General manager, a statement, the budget for football, etc., all those things. And the irony is, of course, Rice Athletics success, especially in football, most recently, is just a myth. Rice football is nothing. They have to work to get better. I mean, football, Coach Bloom is gone after 7 years, new head coach. Coach Abel starting his first year. Hardly anybody goes to the games at Rice Stadium. Stadium's too big for the crowds that do show up there. But they're turning over a new leaf under AD Tommy McClellan and at least making public statements regarding NIL and the House settlement. So I salute them for that. And I'm waiting for Houston to do similar. At least put out some statements, take some Q&A, something to let the media, your supporters, your fans know what you're going to do, how you're going to handle, how you're going to work with the collective. What is the university going to do in terms of payments to the student assets? All these things. Inquiring minds want to know. Time will tell how it all plays out. Before I go to the bottom of the hour promo for BS3, reminder, as a business person, and I'm going to continue saying this as I continue to seek more and more advertisers for this show. Salute to all the shows on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. Salute to the African Center Wellness and Wellbeing, Bayou Beat, B Elite Basketball, the Pantaleon Law Firm, Pruitt's in the Heights, Star Pizza, Byron Riley CPA, Tejas Brewery, United Sports Entertainment, VIP Realty, and of course, the Saxenian family and Steve Saxenian for supporting the Houston Roundball Review. This is page 1 of the online Roundball Review business directory. Price is very reasonable. Reach out to me. Advertise at thehrr.com for the price and how to be involved with the directory. And once you're a sponsor and listed in the directory, you get mentioned during the live stream shows. So website and live stream shows, 2 separate ways to get word out about your business. Advertise at thehrr.com. Back at it here on this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. Oh, yes. Question right here. Do I expect UH? Oh, where'd it go? Here we go. Do I expect UH to have cutbacks like other schools? Yes. Michigan announced cuts. Ohio State has announced cuts. Kansas has announced cuts. Oklahoma has announced cuts. So, yes, I do expect Houston. They have to. I mean, before the House settlement was approved, Houston was having money problems. So I'm quite certain that the Coogs are opting into the plan of paying the student assets $20.5 million in year 1 and then the annual increase of 3 to 4% for the next 10 years, it's going to take a hit. It's going to be hard work for Houston to do. And as Bobby states, Rice has a plan. Transparency, yes. I love my school. Y'all know it. I'm a proud, very proud graduate of the University of Houston. When they do well, I'm going to say so. When they can do better, I'm going to say so. And I'm saying so right now. They can and need to do better. Be more transparent about your plans regarding NIL, the house settlement, the money going to the student assets. Bottom of the hour here on this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. You are watching on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. This show is also available on Roku via the BS3 Network. New promo from BS3. It's about 90 seconds. I'm going to play it, and then I'll be back in the last half of the show. I'm going to talk about said NIL, the house settlement. Got a lot of information to share. Get your coffee ready. Be right back. You're watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, powered by JM&E, streaming live on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel and available on Roku via the BS3 Network.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Cheers. Welcome back to this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, powered by JM&E, streaming live from the great of Fifth Ward on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, and also on Roku via the BS3 Network. I am, of course, KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. First part of the show talked about men's basketball and women's basketball announcing their schedule metrics for the matchups in conference play in the Big 12. Also, I touched on the December 20th conflict of where the Houston Cougars Arkansas men's game is going to take place. It's not certain yet, but it sure does not seem like it's going to be at the Barclays Center because there is already a double hitter scheduled there on December 20th. Featuring UConn, Louisville, Tennessee, and Iowa, women's hoops. So time will tell. And once it's official, of course, I'll announce it, discuss it here on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. Bobby, the Coogs are still paying Dana. With Pez's new job as AD at Arkansas State, I'm assuming that what Arkansas State is paying him, hopefully, no, I'm not assuming, I'm hoping that what he's getting from Arkansas State will negate what the Cougs still owe him now that he's got a new job. Okay, Rev-share. Get your coffee ready, get your popcorn. Y'all know this. It's a lot to discuss. Federal Judge Wilkin, Claudia Wilkin, approved the House versus NCAA settlement last Friday, like a news dump. The settlement will offer $2.8 billion in damages, as well as allow all Division I schools to offer up to $20.5 million to all the current players in their athletic departments, a number that increases incrementally over 10 years during the lifetime of the injunctive relief. Schools must offer money to all sports, though they don't have to offer equitable amounts. The Trump-led Department of Education, DOE, has said that revenue-sharing payments would not be subject to Title IX lawsuit. Going forward, there will also be no limits on scholarships, with roster limits replacing them. NIL collectives will face more scrutiny with deals they offer players. The settlement sets up a clearinghouse to check whether NIL collective deals appear to be fair market value instead of pay-for-play deals. The clearinghouse is run through software created by Deloitte, with the opportunity for appeal to an independent body. Lawsuits. The most controversial part of the settlement was roster limits. Hundreds of current college athletes and prospective athletes in high school lost roster spots they were promised for the upcoming school year. After flooding the court with objections and raising awareness on social media, they succeeded in swaying Judge Claudia Wilkin to demand that the settlement guarantee no athletes would lose roster spots as a result of the proposal's implementation. The party submitted a solution 2 weeks later that allows schools to give players their roster spots back, but did not require that they do so. Judge Wilkins said that this solution was satisfactory. She added that schools should not be forced to return roster spots because, as the NCAA had noted, quote, roster spots aren't guaranteed, end quote. Scholarships are year to year. They're not a 4-year guarantee. And some parents and athletes learn that the hard way. She also noted that eliminating scholarship prohibitions would result in tens of thousands of new scholarships for players currently and in the future. Finally, she said that athletes could sue for damages over the implementation of roster limits. For athletic departments, the next step will be implementation. They've already spent months preparing for this new era by hiring what, Bobby? What, Miss Wanda Tran? CA37? By hiring general managers, announcing plans for how they'll split up the funds among teams, and looking for new fundraising opportunities. Meanwhile, NIL collectives have begun offering player contracts that front load multiple years of an NIL deal before July 1, so they are not subject to the clearinghouse. Collectives have also begun altering their strategies in order to comply with the new rules. Schools will have 30 days to submit lists of, quote, designated student athletes, end quote, who will be exempt from roster limits. Individual teams will have to decide whether to offer these players their spots back. The power conferences, which will be tasked with enforcing the revenue sharing cap, NIL clearinghouse, and roster limits, have created an enforcement entity called the College Sports Commission. The NCAA will not be involved in the College Sports Commission. Quote, as the defendant conferences now own several facets of rulemaking and enforcement related to specific settlement areas, the NCAA will be able to move away from certain enforcement activity that, despite the best efforts of many, wasn't working well end quote, NCAA President Charlie Baker said. The NCAA will essentially cede the enforcement of amateurism rules, i.e., player compensation restrictions, to power conferences and retain enforcement of other concepts like academic eligibility, in-game sports rules, and sports betting. The governing body will also continue to run championships and will pay for a significant amount of the House settlement damages. Quote from President Baker: the power conference's response to the lawsuit is to create an entity, the College Sports Commission. The point behind that was to have an entity that would see the cap management system and the third party NIL system, have rules associated with both, create enforcement parameters for violating those rules under the rubric that would be the theoretical injunction. The College Sports Commission, created and overseen by the four power conferences and not the NCAA, will make sure all Division I schools are abiding by the cap on revenue sharing. Let me stop right there. I'm going to advance the next slide and come back to it. But folks, how do you really believe that the Power Four conferences are going to be effective enforcing the rules regarding the NIL salary cap? Do you believe that the Power Four conferences, that the College Sports Commission and their new leader will be effective in policing money coming from the collectives to the players that are quote unquote legit NIL deals and not straight up pay for play? How are they going to enforce that? How are they going to enforce fair market value? And then if they decide that a booster, a collective, has exceeded their payments for pay for play or went outside the bounds for fair market value, what's going to be the punishment? How are you going to punish a booster? Are you going to make the player return the money that the booster gave the player? This is what, I guess that's what they were counting on. Self-policing. They're going to establish some rules, some ground rules, some parameters, and say, okay, schools, you make sure your boosters, you make sure your collectives don't break the rules. You make sure they stay within our boundaries that we establish. We're counting on you. Only you can prevent forest fires. Okay. Bobby agrees with Miss Wanda regarding the self-policing. Not too complicated. I see you. I'll add your comment momentarily, but back to it. Because I love the info, the self-policing concept that they're relying on, truly. Because here's the fun. It's unclear what punishments would be handed down to athletes, schools, and third parties if they violate salary cap rules or offer pay-for-play NIL deals. The CEO of the College Sports Commission, he has been named, would have the final say, according to ESPN. Industry experts have told Front Office Sports, Amanda Kostovich, she's the article I'm citing here, that players, schools, and third-party NIL entities could challenge the clearinghouse and revenue-sharing cap in court on antitrust grounds. Those are challenges that have historically been faced by the NCAA, but will now be the burden of the ACC, SEC, Big 10, and Big 12. As complicated stated, the Power Four conferences will operate just like the government, thugs in suits. No lies told. But trust us, we're going to do the right thing. We want boundaries. We want to do the right thing. Trust us. Miss Wanda is cynical. You know that will not work. Time will tell, but trust them. Trust them. Perhaps that's why the conferences have, behind the scenes, distributed a memo to their member schools that would bind them to the terms of the settlement and prevent them from suing the conferences to challenge this new adjudication process. But at this point, it's unclear. It's unknown whether the memo will give the power conferences the teeth to implement these enforcement mechanisms successfully. Attorney Darren Heitner, who has spoken with a handful of college coaches about the memo, tells FOS, quote, general consensus is that it's a shit show and going to keep me busy, end quote. I enjoyed that, class. Thank you very much for your attention and attentiveness to that slideshow regarding the NCAA, its NIL, revenue sharing, lawsuits. Some women's athletes have already decided to appeal Judge Wilkins' ruling, approval of the settlement. Payments to the players, the assets, the athletes, whatever you want to call them, is set to begin, will begin on July 1st. Houston has opted in. I think every Big 12, all the power schools have opted in. Locally, Houston Christian University opted out. And in case you did not know, just because you opt out does not mean you're free from having to pay something. HCU for the next 10 years will not receive $300,000 from the NCAA because they opted out of the settlement. So even though HCU did not opt in, they're still going to lose $300,000 every year will be withheld from them from the NCAA as part of the settlement that the big boys, the Power Four conferences, agreed to. So little old HCU wasn't part of the class action lawsuit, will still owe money because they are opting out of the House settlement. Make it make sense, people. The big boys, again, they fought the lawsuits, they settled, but they don't want to pay the full freight. They want the other smaller conferences, the other smaller schools, the G5 conferences, the HBCUs, the Southern Conference schools to pay a share as well. Big 12, Big 10, SEC, ACC, the Pac-12 was part of the College Sports Commission forming. They don't want to pay 95 or 90%, 80% and have the NCAA pay 20%. They want all the member schools of the NCAA Division I to help pay the cost. I mean, come on. Internet Passport. Thank you very much, man. New name. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Don't be a stranger to this show, this channel. This show airs every Thursday, hopefully live on Thursdays at noon, sometimes be recorded. But Tran, for you as well and complicated, Rocket fans, tonight, Thursday night, 9 o'clock Central Time, the next edition of the Let's Talk Houston Rockets show will take place, live streaming. We're going to talk about that Kevin Durant trade proposal put forth by ESPN. And lo and behold, I put forth the same thing yesterday before I even saw it mentioned on the website. Oh yeah, thank you very much. For Bobby, I got carried away with all of this stuff because I want to give flowers to Antoine and my Coogs. So give me back. Thank you very much, Bobby, for that. All right, I squeezed that in about the Big 12. Antoine Jean, Houston baseball left-handed pitcher, was named a perfect game All-America first team. That was, I think, Tuesday of this week. And then Wednesday, he was named second team All-American, another outlet. But he is the Houston's 29th All-America honoree and is the first Cougar first team pick since Trey Cumbie in 2017. The lefty is the Cougars' first perfect game first team selection in program history and the third in program history to earn perfect game All-America honors. Jean became the first relief pitcher to win Big 12 Conference Pitcher of the Year in 25 and was Houston's second 100-plus strikeout reliever in program history. The lefty posted 12 scoreless relief appearances and 13 5-plus strikeout appearances, while his 110 strikeouts was the most by a Coug since 2018. The all-region selection, Stopper of the Year finalist, and Big 12 Conference Pitcher of the Year, led the Big 12 in ERA, hits allowed per 9, strikeout to walk ratio, strikeouts per 9, and whip, that's walk plus hits innings pitched, while finishing second in total strikeouts and sixth in saves. Jean was second nationally in strikeouts per 9, almost 15, and hits allowed per 9, 5.37. Eighth in whip. 1 is considered good, is considered great, a whip of 1. Lower than that. 17th in strikeout to walk ratio, 18th in ERA, and 19th in total strikeouts. Salute, kudos to Coug, Antoine Jean. Tuesday, Chrissy Schoonmaker was named softball coach at UH. The 2022 A10 Coach of the Year and former University of Houston softball assistant coach was named the third coach in program history. VP for Athletics, Eddie Nunez, announced Tuesday. Schoonmaker returns to UH after 4 seasons as a head coach at George Washington, where she led the Buff and Blue to a 113-92 record and the 2022 Atlantic 10 regular season championship in her first season in charge. In 25, Schoonmaker tutored her second A10 Pitcher of the Year in 4 seasons, while guiding George Washington to the 25th best ERA in the nation and leading the A10 in ERA, strikeout to walk ratio, shutouts, strikeouts per 7 innings, and whip. Over 4 seasons at GW, Schoonmaker led GW to 2 30-plus win seasons and turned the team around from 17 wins in 2023 to 27 victories in 24 and 33 in 2025, a 16-win improvement over the last 2 years. She stands as the only head coach to lead GW to 3 winning seasons in the program's history. Schoonmaker rejoins the Big 12 after beginning her coaching career at Texas Tech in 2012 and has mentored 18 all-conference selections, 6 all-region honorees, 2 Pitchers of the Year, a Player of the Year, and an All-American. Schoonmaker arrives at Houston for a second head coach position after 4 years at GW and assistant coach stints at Harvard, UConn, Houston, Texas Tech, and her alma mater, South Carolina. Wish her well. I hope she has ties to the talent in Houston, in the Houston area for softball, in Texas for softball. I don't remember the exact number, but of the teams who reached the Women's College World Series, I think each of those teams had at least one player from Houston, the Houston area, a Houston high school. Each of the teams that reached the Women's College World Series had at least one player from Houston high school. So the talent is here, UH, Coach Schoonmaker, staff. Build a fence around this area and keep that talent here at UH. Winning at UH, there is a blueprint by head coach Kelvin Sampson and his staff of winning and starting from the bottom and getting to the top and becoming nationally relevant. So it can be done. It has been done. It is being done. So Coach Mitchell, Coach Schoonmaker, all these sports, I want all my alma mater's teams to shine. Football, track, swimming, diving, baseball, golf, softball, volleyball, all of them. I want to win the Commissioner's Cup for most success in athletics once every 4 or 5 years because we are the University of Houston. We are the Houston Cougars. It's our time to shine. We're now in the Big 12. We are now in a power conference. Let's act like it on the fields of competition, but let's also act like it in terms of communication and be transparent. Let your fans know. Ticket sales, thanks to Miss Wanda, ticket sales for women's basketball were announced, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. She told me about it first. She told me about it first. UH, I'm media. You know who I am. I received the email the next day because I buy tickets. Folks, y'all know who I am. Y'all know I give shine and love to UH Athletics every chance I get. Damn. Help me help you. Wrapping it up. Thank you to Bobby. Thank you to Tran. Thank you to Miss Wanda. Thank you to Complicated. I hope to see you tonight talking Rockets and KD. But as always, it's my pleasure to talk sports with you on the Takeover, on the live stream shows, part of the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. Internet Passport. Come again, brother. Don't be a stranger. This is a family here. You are part of the family now. Thank you. Spread the word about this show. Spread the word about the BS3 Network on Roku. Until next Thursday, y'all know how I do. Internet Passport, this is for you because you might not know how I do it. Since 1994, yes, that's right. Since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review. I like saying that. I'm proud to say that. Since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review. Local name, global perspective. Y'all take care. Peace.